Hello and welcome back to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel, your source for all things Everton. My name's Thomas, joined by Terry again today to preview our second Premier League game of the season against newly promoted West Brom. This will be the first game at Goodison Park of the league, of course. Last night we've knocked out Salford in the Carabao Cup. Good result in the end, 3-0 victory. Bit nervy at times, but eventually saw it out. Of course, we started the season with a very good away win against Spurs with a 1-0 result. Terry, I'll rattle off some stats really, because obviously West Brom lost their first game 3-0 against Leicester. Didn't give them a great showing of themselves there. Last night they played Harrogate Town, who were just promoted from the National League into League Two. Comfortable 3-0 win. They rotated pretty much as us, I believe. So I think pretty much everyone's, full squads are available. What are your initial thoughts going into the game?
Yeah, I mean, you can never think, treat it like this in the Premier League, but we need to win. We should win this game. Like, we need to, if we want to do anything this season, we need to follow up good wins like the win against Tottenham with this on paper easier wins at home against West Brom. We need to get a run going. So if we win on is it Saturday,
Yeah.
if we win on Saturday, then that's 3 wins in a row, and you're getting a little bit of form, a little bit of momentum going. I didn't watch the Harrogate game, but I did watch West Brom versus Leicester. And yeah, Leicester are a very good team, but West Brom didn't show a lot in that game that made me think they're going to be, one of the harder opponents who'll come to Goodison this year. Obviously, I'm setting myself up for a rather large fall here, but we're likely to see the same team that started against Tottenham. I don't think anyone made enough of a case for themselves against Salford to start. I think if Nkunku was a right back, then we might have something to think about. But fortunately for him and Anthony Gordon, they play in positions that are very locked down in the team, with Luca Dean and Richarlison. So, yeah, more Allen, more Decore, more Hammers and the boys. I think it's the order of the day.
Yeah, I mean, if we come out with that team that we played against Spurs at home to West Brom, that should be a win. Of course, home advantage it's less relevant now, but I mean, obviously we still count that an away win as an away win against the top 6 or whatever we'd like to call them. I think there is still some advantage to an extent, but I'm confident going into this game, especially playing our full strength side. Yes, I was impressed with Gordon and Nkunku last night, but as you mentioned, they're in positions where we're very much sorted at the moment. Disappointing because obviously I'd like to see them work their way into the squad, but stay with Richarlison and Luca Dean for now. Disappointed with Moise Kean. He's really not caused any problems going into this game. But at the end of the day, this is a newly promoted side who, I mean, didn't really perform against Leicester, and West Brom were at home as well. So we should be looking for 3 points here. I mean, we do now have players like James Rodriguez coming up against, a West Brom defence that was solid in the Championship. Don't get me wrong, is it Premier League quality? We're yet to say. I don't want to sound too confident, but this is a game we should be winning at the end of the day. If you really want to be challenging for the top of the table, this shouldn't be a game that you're even doubting, really. But of course, it is Everton. We'll see what happens. But yeah, we should be fairly confident going into this. Are there any West Brom players that maybe stand out to you that you'll maybe worry about?
Based on the Leicester game, not really. I mean, I'm trying to even remember who've they got. Like,
Don't have Salomon Rondon anymore, so he can't cause us.
Yeah. It sounds so ignorant, and I'm proper setting myself up for when West Brom run out 2-1 winners. But no, not really. Like, I'm not on this train of how Everton are amazing now after that 1 win, but we should, after seeing the Tottenham game, we should have enough to dispatch West Brom at home. Like, it's never that easy in the Premier League. It's never that simple. Games happen like that all the time where, the team with the on paper better players lose to another team that aren't as good. It could happen. Obviously, if the crowd were in Goodison, I'd be a lot more confident than I am, because as much as it gives you an advantage when you're away from home, I think you lose a little bit of advantage, as you said, at home. But no, if we want to do anything this season, then our players need to turn up again and, get another win under the belt. And you're going into the Fleetwood game and then, try and win that. And then you've got a run of wins to start the season off. And then you're going into the rest of the season and you've got something really solid to build upon. West Brom, don't see them staying up based on the evidence of what I've seen so far. It is very early days, and obviously last season, there was a cluster of teams who were just all trying to be, worse than the others. So they could stay up, but I think it'd probably be based more on the other teams being worse, because I don't think they've got the quality in at the minute, West Brom, from what I saw. But the transfer window's still open, you never know.
Yeah, and what always concerns me going into games like this is I look for a set piece taken. They've definitely got one. Matheus Pereira, of course, I think he had the leading amount of assists last year in the Championship. He was on loan, and now they've signed him on a permanent deal. I'm always concerned when we come up against players like that, because it really is any man's game when it comes to set pieces. Yes, we should be better than them in open play. And okay, we've got this new kind of this new defensive system at set pieces, which I'm definitely not qualified to talk about. Kind of the bank of four of the taller players behind another bank of four of smaller. I don't really understand what it is. I don't claim to be a set piece kind of specialist, but Pereira seems like a player that can definitely maybe unlock their strikers. Of course, Charlie Austin is a player that's a bit of a throwback. He hasn't really done much in a while, but again, it always seems like he's that kind of striker that in a game like this we might even struggle against. I mean, we saw it with Mitrovic against Fulham a couple of seasons ago. Just bullied us for no reason, as I mentioned. Rondon. Charlie Austin again. Okay, he might not have set the Championship on fire. I think he scored like 10 goals last year, but I'm always concerned whenever we come up against a striker that needs a goal. But maybe that our fortunes are going to change now, because at the end of the day, this is a very different side to last year. We do have Ancelotti as manager. We've got a much higher quality squad. We should definitely talk about the centre-back crisis just kind of for a moment. Holgate is, of course, injured. Branthwaite is now injured. I mean, I'm not sure the extent of his injury. I don't know if we found that out yet. I'm sure you can. No, you're not sure either. Branthwaite seemed to go off in a lot of pain last night. Gibson wasn't even on the bench. He wasn't on the bench against Spurs either. So at the moment, it seems like we've got pretty much two fit centre halves. Okay, we might see Gibson on the bench, but do you now see a necessity to potentially bring in a centre back? I mean, we've been linked with Tomori on loan, but how urgent do you think that is? Is it now urgent as in we need it before West Brom? Whether that'll happen in 2 days, I mean, you're not really sure, but do we now urgently need a new centre back?
Yeah, I think it was urgent anyway. Gibson, I mean, he wasn't there. It might be that he's in Huddersfield about to complete this loan move, unless we were to cancel that and bring him back. But I don't personally see Gibson as the same level as Branthwaite. I think Branthwaite is a better player, and he's not as experienced, of course. But I think so far, they trust Branthwaite in the team over Gibson. So to lose Branthwaite, who would have been the fourth choice if everyone was fit, it does leave us very exposed. Whether it's, Tomori would be ideal. He'd just go right in, really fast player. Whether that sort of loses us a little bit of leverage in the negotiations, whether we have to go back now and cave to whatever, is holding up the deal, because, it seemed like it was on a few weeks ago or a week ago, and then all of a sudden Frank Lampard has a press conference and it's not on anymore, or it doesn't seem as far along as it did. I don't know. We need to get it sorted. We might have to just, grip the edge of our seats for the West Brom game and hope we don't get any more centre-back injuries. But I'd hope to not go any more games than that without having a player in, because whether it's Tomori or someone else, 2 centre-backs is too risky. Like, it just goes to show one innocuous, challenge, and you could be down a player like we were against Salford with Branthwaite. He wasn't even a crunching tackle or anything like that. He just sort of starts limping and comes off in what looks like a lot of pain. So even if it's not as bad as we first feared, he's not going to be fit for this game, is he? So
yeah, because obviously Luca Dean came on last night in the centre back role. Yes, he did well against Salford. Will he do that in the Premier League? I'm not so certain. Salford didn't take advantage of him coming on there, which they probably should have more in the Premier League. So I definitely would have. So if we go into the game with no centre halves on the bench, I will be very concerned. Because we know our luck with centre back injuries at the moment. We can't seem to get that position sorted. I do hope we bring in Tomori on loan. He seems like a very good option. Of course, Chelsea are only going to loan him to us at the end of the day if they think he's going to play a lot of football. So maybe that's part of the problem with the deal. Is it's almost like we're talking about bringing him in as cover, but Chelsea are definitely going to want him to play football. There's no point in loaning him out to somewhere if he's not going to play. So if Tomori did come in, do you think he would just immediately fit straight into the side?
Yeah, I think so. I think Michael Keane and Yerry Mina are similar types of player. I think they in an ideal world, it'd be one or the other, because they're big stopper type players. Whereas Tomori is more of the Mason Holgate, quick, better on the ball type player. So maybe not the second he comes in, but if we do get, say it is Tomori, I can see Tomori being one of the starting centre backs, and then it being a fight between Keane and Mina to start alongside him, because he just gives us a lot more options, with his pace on the recovery, and Ravi allows you to play a lot further up the pitch.
Yeah, I think he would also come straight in, to be fair. I'd probably partner Tomori with Keane, but we're also saying this like we don't actually know if a deal's close. I definitely think we do need a centre-back now on loan. There's no point in bringing in someone permanent, because we do have, Gibson and Branthwaite coming through, who the club clearly view themselves as kind of them as the long-term options. So bringing a player on loan like we did with Zuma, maybe with Tomori, get them in. And let's be honest, going at the West Brom game, I just hope we come out with no more injuries. We've had a couple now. I mean, we've got Holgate injured, as mentioned. We've got Branthwaite. No one's seen Delph. Iwobi seems to be injured. There's not actually been an official word on that, I don't think. It's just he hasn't featured in the squad, and I'm not sure anyone's really seen him in training either. So let's hope for no more injuries at the weekend. Should be a win that is expected. Ancelotti will definitely expect it of them. He's not. He wouldn't be impressed. It's almost as if that Spurs win was important, but we go home to West Brom. If we lose that game, it's not that the Spurs game's completely out the window, but it's a perfect momentum builder straight after a very good result. That you want to play a newly promoted side who didn't look great in the first week, but that's kind of it. There's not too much we can really go into, because it is still early days in the season. What are your kind of predictions? You got any hopes, predictions, dreams of what we're going to see on Saturday?
I'm going to go with another 1-0 win, another clean sheet, and maybe even another set-piece goal. I think nice clinical 1-0 would be good.
Yeah, I'm looking for maybe a 2 or 3. I really want Hammers to maybe get his first goal. I think it'd be very nice to see Allen and Hammers and Decore back in the side, because of course last night against Salford was very much a lot of last season's team. It shows how much we've changed our squad massively. That the majority of the squad we finished with last season was playing with last night, but weren't playing against Spurs, which isn't necessarily a bad sign. But yeah, there's clearly a distinct gulf in quality between our midfield that played last night and the midfield played the weekend. So I'm excited to see them again. Let us know your predictions down below in the comments. Maybe any potential scorers. Like, are you hoping for a James Rodriguez goal like me? Thanks, Terry, for coming on. Check out his social media. Check out all the Toffee Blues social media. So thank you very much for watching, and join us next time on the Toffee Blues.